Voice of South Pacific from Seattle, Washington. Today we have a special program. This is a Providence Elder Place and Boss Broadcast Radio Tonga from Seattle. The program is all about trying to make a difference, with the elderly, make them to stay home comfortably. Koe Polokalama mau inga koe ahoni, o tau kau whatahai pa moe Providence Elder Place, aia o tukwatia pa me Seattle, Washington, America. Koe ahotolweni o February o wa February. Ta whawhita e koe ngā koe tau ke lava o kau whataha i Polokalama whamawhalalea ai le o Pacific Southern ma le te o tonga tukwatia pa me Seattle, Washington, ia mei he mana mo ui center. Koe Polokalama koe ahoni, koe tau mua, ke lau hanga whamatala atu. Anai ta whaaki ke whai hatokoni, ke koutou rekereka, te tokoni kia te koe kau tau hi. E mo ilo vlahi e ngai whonga te nā tokoni atuai, hake koe awi ki nā toke tā, pia lava kotoa mo ngai ta whaaki kehe. Pia koe ai te mau tukwatia i he hawani, o mau kau whatafu ki hene pa mo Kaylin, pia whoki kia Catherine. Koe ia koe whainga maari e koe nuk mau, o tukuange ke nā whamatala atu, koe hae Polokalama koe na Providence Elder Place. I hoka totonu koe ia ai ono, te tau kau whatahai pe mo Joy, ko Joy te ne tala noai, ke anga koe ia e ngai mau mea tokoni, o ne mau i ai, ho tau ko fua, pe ko tau kini, pe koe ngahi mea tokoni, e tokoni ki te whalalakai. Koe ia, so at this opportunity, welcome Kaylin and Catherine from Providence Elder Place. We're so grateful, to have you, and we're gonna go in both languages so that our people and our Pacific Islanders listeners, could be able to understand some of it. Also, I have the opportunity to have one of your clients. His first appointment is tomorrow, but why he picked to join the Providence Elder Place. Okay, I think that I'd like you to please introduce, the topic that we had, falls prevention and balance, and you can talk about it. Thank you.
I'm Catherine. I'm the physical therapist, and Kaylin is kind of behind the PowerPoint screen. She's one of our occupational therapists. We're here with Providence Elder Place, and our big goal, as Sylvia was describing, is to come together as a team of a doctor and nurse and therapists, social workers, and really try to provide the best care to the elderly folks in our community. As a physical therapist and occupational therapist, Kaylin and I really strive to try to limit the falls that are happening within our older population. And we feel like that's a really important thing to share with the community, ways to stay safer and try to prevent falls from happening. So that's what we'll be discussing today.
Thank you so much. Before we continue on, could you, I know that you already mentioned, what is something that the people say, I wanted to switch, to the Providence Elder Place? What are some of your programs that, makes the difference, to help the elderly in our society? Thank you.
Yeah, we try to come together really as that team approach, trying to provide a holistic care. So when folks come into our clinic, like this gentleman will tomorrow, he'll meet with his doctor and his nurse. He'll meet with a dietitian, physical therapy, occupational therapy, recreational therapy. Generally, when he's there, we'll provide a meal during that first long day visit. We've got a day program for folks that need kind of some respite from their home. And again, we just really try to all come together to figure out the different needs that we can help to meet.
Okay.
That's a great, sorry, go ahead, Sylvia.
Yeah, thank you so much, for clarifying that. Aya ko tafuke ngai tamu a koe ni ke whai koe to koni ki ai. Ko hangai whonga ke no fo pe e tau koutou reke hangi ko tau ngahi o ngā whatonga, ko tau ngahi o ngā koia pe mei he Otmot Pasiki, ke no fo pe e tau koutou reke o malolo pe I api, o nā no fo pe ai ko i ngā, kai lea ko pe he, there's no other place like home. Yeah, because of our culture, that's how we do. You know, we take care of each other, and we feel obligated that we have to take care of each other. Thank you. Okay, before we continue on, I'd like you to please, explain your title and, and how important it is, that knowing how to prevent falling and, support it, for the elderly. Thank you.
So I am a physical therapist, and that means my role is to assess someone's strength, their balance, how they walk, how they move, and really try to come up with a plan to help them move the best that they can. And part of that is helping them to move in a way that will hopefully prevent falls from occurring. That could be from helping them to get stronger or improve their balance, or finding the right equipment to help them use to move better. And then Caitlin is the occupational therapist, and I'll let her describe that a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm the occupational therapist, and so my role as an occupational therapist is to, again, look at how someone moves and how someone interacts with their environment, and if they need any assistive devices or tools that can make them safer or more independent in their home. As Catherine was saying before, our goal with Elder Place is to really help support people to be independent and living in their community safely as long as possible. And so that's kind of where we come from for occupational therapy in this setting.
Thank you so much. That is very important, occupational therapy hange ko ki mo tau ko e ka inga tonga o mo me amai e ata pe ka kia ha mo fe hui o klava pe ki mo toi tohi mai ko ia ko na wai na fai ko hange ko taim ko ia kia ha me aku hoko ko ka ta pe si to pe klave pe o lava le ke na hanga o to ni e to ta ko ia ke toi foki ke to unga ko na ia ki moa. So as we continue on, you can go ahead and explain, what as your part as occupational therapist, how to prevent and helping the elderly. Thank you.
Yeah, and so we're going to move through our power. So we have a few different slides that I think will help kind of explain why and how falls happen, and then follow up with what we can do to kind of prevent them from happening.
Yeah, so I'm going to speak on this slide, and I'll let these little pop-ups come through. A question that we're asking, all of our new program participants when they join, and also regularly while they're with us, is if they have ever had a fall. Could be in the last 5 years, 1 year, 6 months, 1 month. How recently was the last fall? And a lot of people do tell us that they're having falls. Sometimes they're uncommon, or sometimes they're happening even every day. And so this is something that's important to consider when you're thinking about if your goal is to stay living healthy and independent. The injuries that can come with a fall can really jeopardize that. So starting out thinking of what is my current state? Have I had a fall recently? And then going from there to figure out how to stay safe. Is how kind of we start looking at things for our participants. And I'll go to the next slide. Oh, I forgot week. This is my slide as well. So a reason that we really focus on falls is that falls are a leading cause of injury and death in adults over age 65. This is because they can cause fractures, especially of the hip, also the hand or the wrist, and they can result in needing to go to the hospital, possibly needing to have surgery. Every year, 3 million older adults are treated in the ER for fall-related injuries. These can also include stitches due to wounds. Okay. Are you at risk of falling?
Any questions so far, Sylvia, before we continue on?
Yeah.
In Fijian, you guys can be able to, to translate it, but we will be able to just distribute this to all the Pacific Islanders in the state of Washington. Thank you. My question is, when someone is falling based on your study and your research and your experience, if someone falling, I know you said that it's a leading cause for the injury and death. Is there a recovery from that, or it's most likely to go? I think I will have to give you two questions at the same time. Based on the text that came in, it said, what is something that you can always advise that is the highest risk to avoid that when we're at home? Thank you. To avoid from falling.
So, everyone's home is going to be a little bit different, and there are different kind of strategies we can implement to prevent some of those falls from happening. And that's something that we're going to go into a little bit more in a few minutes. I think it would be best to hold off on answering that because we'll have some good pictures and examples that we can go through. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about who's really at risk of having falls. So questions that you can ask yourself are, have I fallen in the past year? Yes or no? If you've had a fall in the past year, you're more likely to then fall again. Do you sometimes hold on to furniture or hold on to a wall, kind of reaching out to hold on to something when you're walking? If you do, that's a sign that you might have poor balance, and balance is really at the root of why a lot of people are falling. Another question to ask is, do you need to push up from your hands to get out of a chair? Or are you able to do it without any extra assistance? If you need to use your hands to help push up, then that's going to be a sign of some weakness in your leg muscles, that weakness can be a big contributor to falling. Sometimes I feel unsteady when I'm walking. If you feel unsteady, that could be a sign again that you need some extra support or tools to help you, and that maybe you need to work on that balance a little bit more. Another consideration is I often have to rush to the bathroom or to the toilet. Having to get somewhere really quickly or not having control over it, that can often cause you to rush, and again, that can increase your chance of falling. Looking at the strength we have, the balance that we have, and how we're getting around are really going to be some of those key contributors to figuring out, are you at risk of falling, or what do we need to do in order to prevent it from happening? And really, this kind of gets to what some of your folks were asking, Sylvia. We know that falls occur. We know that they can be scary or result in injury. We know that they can lead to more falls. But it's really important to keep in mind that there are things that can be done to prevent the falls from happening in the first place. And that's where we really want to focus the rest of our kind of slides and really provide your community with some examples of things to consider to prevent those falls from occurring. Okay, so the way we want to kind of kick or continue on with it is asking yourself 4 main questions. The question and the goal of those questions is to determine if you're at risk of falling or if there's things you can do to prevent it. So the first question we'll go over is, how do I feel? That will look at things like pain, dizziness, fatigue. The second question is, what tools can help me? So we'll go into some examples of different kind of tools that you can use to help prevent those falls. The third question is, are there things in my way? So kind of considering the environment around you. Are there cords on the ground or rugs, or is the furniture set up in a way that would make it more unsafe for you? And how can you change that? And then the last question is, do I move enough? You know, as a physical therapist, I really want to consider someone's strength and balance, and getting them in a good program to help them move and be more active the best that they can is really helpful. Any questions about those kind of 4 ideas before we go into a little bit more detail about it?
I think that you already explained it, great, and I will just say something, in native language. Hangi ko na whamatala aunga ko nung tukuatu. Ke whakapoto I ai whinga koe ke malu I koe kita koe te me he falling my wrist koe pe te hoko I koto. Aia koe ngai me aia whe mao koe ke siofi koe hangi koe taki koe ka vai I lo I pe ko whewheo nau su pe ko su lelei he nau lue. Koe katoa ngai mea koe ia pe paupiki whaki tokoni. Pea I te ngatai hangi ko ngai whariki koe ia hoto ngai api ke mato atokon. Thank you so much. You can continue on to part 2. Thank you.
Thanks. So Kaylin's going to give a little bit more information about those first 3 questions.
All right, couldn't get myself off of mute. So the first question that we are talking about is, how do you feel? And this is taking into account both physical sensations and also mental. So some examples that you might take into account when you're thinking, how do you feel? Could be, do you feel dizzy or lightheaded? Especially when you first get up, some people feel a little bit lightheaded because their blood pressure is a little low when they first get up. Do you feel pain? Do you feel that you can see clearly, so that when you're walking, are there things you might trip on that you can see? And then also, do you feel isolated or depressed? When people are feeling more depressed, they're at a higher risk for falls as well. It's been shown.
Thank you. Before you continue on, I just wanted to say something that is very important. Hangi koe na whakamatala, koe tolahi ko ki nau tolu ko ia o hangi ko nau depressed, pe ko hangi ko nau loto mamahi, pe koe mo oe nau ngai whakaukau ngai mea. O laule ke ue sia ki nau tolu hoko ai mo nau tō. Pea koe mea ia ko toka ngā iai. Tauhi pe e kau tō leke reka. Pea koe Polokalama koe at Providence Elder Place. O ku iai nau ngai Polokalama kotoa. Koe ngā te tōni iai whamalosi no koe mak me tōni mo Lelei, koe ngai Polokalama ke fia ai wheo hi mo e kau tō leke reka. Pea mo kau tole tā ke mata, ke nifo. Ka koe ui ngā koe sio koe ki taha o mamahi o no loto. O lawa rewa koe kakai koe ia o lahi o pito e nau tō, e nau lawea o a o e peo morea e nau mo ui. Thank you so much. You can continue on.
All right, thank you. So this slide is just kind of showing some more specific examples about how these factors can influence our fall risk. So, for example, I already mentioned poor vision as one factor. we would recommend that people see their eye doctor annually because vision is really a vital component of balance. If you can't see the world around you clearly, it's really hard to navigate through it safely. The next point on here is incontinence. So as we get older, a lot of people find they need to go to the bathroom more often than they used to, and they also find that they often have to rush to get there in time. Because people don't want to experience incontinence, they find that they're rushing more and more, but then unfortunately that also puts you at a higher risk of falling. You might trip as you're trying to rush to get to the toilet. So some things that we'll talk about with our participants is that it is common for people to wear pads or briefs or something to help keep you clean, even if you have incontinence, so that you don't feel that it's quite as urgent to rush or run to the bathroom. And then the next component on here is depression. And as I already talked about, studies have shown that when people are more depressed, they become gradually at a higher risk of falls. And the reason for this is if you kind of feel depressed, you're not as likely to do the things that you enjoy doing. And that leads to you moving less, that leads to you getting weaker, and then that leads to you getting more likely to fall. And the final point on here is isolation. And this can be especially relevant with COVID. More people are maybe staying at home or not going out the way that they used to do because they're just staying at home, then they don't move as much, then they get weaker, and then that can cause a fall as well. And I'm going to go on to the next slide. So we talked again about there's kind of a dizziness and lightheadedness can kind of go together for a lot of people, but they can come from different causes. So dizziness can come from medications. Sometimes it can come from vertigo, which is a problem in the inner ear. One thing that is common with older adults is you might be on multiple medications, and especially with those medications working together, they can be more likely to cause dizziness. So with Elder Place, we really try to monitor that and make sure that if people are taking multiple medications, they're not interacting in a way that would be more likely to cause dizziness. It's really important for anybody, whether you're with Elder Place or not, to tell your doctor if you do feel dizziness, especially if you're in that position of taking multiple medications. Lightheadedness, that can be just kind of that feeling of fuzziness or cloudiness when you first sit up from laying down or when you first get onto your feet from sitting in a chair. This is common for a lot of people, but can become more of an issue sometimes. Where it's particularly a problem is if you get up and immediately try and rush into walking. Usually with this kind of lightheadedness, it will kind of settle out after waiting for 30 seconds. But when people get up and start walking immediately, then again, you're at higher risk of falling if you are not waiting for it to settle. Pain. Pain makes it hard to do the things you enjoy. So because of that, a lot of people who are struggling with pain might find themselves staying still more often. As we talked about, similar to depression or isolation, when you stay still and don't move, you become weaker and then more likely to fall. Also, a lot of times pain can become worse if we don't move. The human body is really not meant to stay still, it's meant to move. And so sometimes it's harder to get up and get going, especially, for example, with arthritis. But as you move and as our joints start to move through their range of motion, people often find they feel less pain than they did at first. And the last point on here is medication changes. We talked about how some medicines interact together and can cause dizziness, for example. A lot of times, especially as medications are being changed or adjusted, or you start a new medication, you can be at particular risk for some of those side effects, such as dizziness. So that's something to really be alert of and make sure you're in communication with your doctor about. Okay. Would you like to, oh, go ahead, Catherine.
Well, so that was the first question. Thanks for kind of covering all that, Kaylin. The first question again is asking yourself, how do you feel? And if you have any of these kind of concerns or things that Kaylin said really resonate with you, that's when we recommend that you follow up with your doctor and see if those issues can get addressed, and with the goal of keeping you safer to prevent falls.
Exactly. Thank you, Catherine.
Any questions or thoughts, Sylvia, before
Yes.
our next couple of slides are going to talk about equipment that we would recommend and ways to kind of get moving a little bit more?
Yes, yeah, I have the text from this person here asking, what will be, what type of equipment do you think that would be best, you know? I'm 74 right now, so, but I'm still walking around, but it's kind of hard. I always need some supporters. What do you recommend? I use the my game, but I try to be on my own so I can, you know, keep myself, my strength and energy and exercise. So what would be your best advice at this time, because I'm trying to avoid falling?
Yeah, that's a great question. So again, with everything that we're saying, I at the end recommend following up with your doctor because they are going to know your full health history. But you know, based on that, I'm glad to hear that they have a cane that they're able to use. A lot of times folks will think about a cane or a walker or a wheelchair as something that holds them back. So this 74-year-old had said that they have a cane, but they don't want it to cause them to get weaker. And the way that I see a cane or a walker is it's really meant to be something to enable you to do more. So I would encourage to, instead of thinking as the cane is something that you have to use and that it might make you weaker, think about it as a tool that helps you to move more. And so then I usually encourage people to use their assistive device, whether that's a cane or a walker, to keep them safe. And if you stay safe, then usually you can be more active throughout your day. The other equipment, that's exactly what we're going to dive into now. So I think Kaylin, moving to the next slide would be helpful for that.
Okay, so as you said, Catherine, the next question that we're going to address is what tools can help. And I do believe that you have some examples to demonstrate, Catherine. So maybe I can talk about a particular item. And if you have that one to demonstrate, Catherine, you can maybe show it up close to the camera so people can see it if they're watching the video.
Perfect. And for all of these pieces of equipment, again, talk with your medical team about it. A lot of them too, you can buy at a CVS or different pharmacies or online.
All right. So the first one we're going to talk about is a reacher or a grabber, some people like to call them. And Catherine has an example right there. There's also, this one has kind of a fine tip for picking up smaller items. There's also usually a variety that has like a suction cup. Very nice, Catherine. There's another variety that has a suction cup at the part where it comes together. That can allow you to pick up heavier items sometimes, such as cans of food, maybe from an upper shelf in your pantry. A reacher is also good for picking up things that you may have dropped. Oh, nice. Dropped on the floor or that are too far for you to reach. For example, if you're sitting in a chair, a lot of times folks might lose their balance and fall because they were bending over to get something from the floor, and this helps prevent that. All right, the next thing is a shoehorn, Catherine. Do you have one of those? Well, you're looking, I'll keep talking. So there's the picture here, the second picture on the left is of a lady using a shoehorn. And that's a similar idea of the reacher, is that it kind of keeps you from having to reach all the way down to your foot in order to put on your shoes. So it just kind of helps you from potentially losing your balance. The next item in a similar category is a long-handled sponge. This is for washing, could be your back, could be your feet, somewhere that's difficult for you to reach. Very nice example, especially the feet. That can again be a time when people might lose their balance when they're trying to get down to their feet. And so this helps prevent that. I don't know what other examples you have there, Catherine. Do you want to hold up the next thing that you have? Then I make sure I talk about it. Oh, this is a sock aid. It's maybe a little difficult for Catherine to demonstrate to get her foot up there, so I'll try and describe it. It's a similar long-handled item that lets you put on a sock without having to bend over to your foot. This one is a little bit difficult to understand without seeing it. So again, I might suggest that you search this online and you can see a video of it, or ask your doctor and see if they can give you any recommendations if socks are particularly difficult for you. Some other equipment that I don't think, oh, what else do you have? Oh, this looks like a rubber mat for your bath. That is a great idea because a tub or a shower is a place that people are always at a potential of falling because it's wet and slippery, and you're closing your eyes to wash your hair. But so you always want to be careful that you don't fall there, and especially because it's hard surfaces all around. So if you do fall, there's a higher risk that you might hurt yourself. So a rubber bath mat is a good idea to prevent you from slipping when you're in the tub or the shower. Oh, it's also good to get a rubber grippy mats that can go, I think that's what you have actually, Catherine, to go under rugs. And this can prevent rugs from slipping. When a rug slips as you're stepping on it, obviously that could cause you to slip and fall as well. For the shower, I think I know they sell them online. I think there will be many varieties if you go to Amazon, for example. But I also see them, I think Catherine mentioned, like a lot of pharmacies or drugstores. I always see those if you go into a store and look there. And I don't have any particular brand I would recommend. I would say look for one with suction cups on the back because that helps it stay in place and not move.
I just have this one person here, she's online. She have a question.
Okay.
Sita, eke mai o whehu I pau toki hanga pe o whaton lea ki ai.
Kuya, oi me eki.
Eke pepo hai mea tokoni ka koe ki ke o te ke tō, ke whamalohi ke sino. Okay.
Ke mau pe ke uilo I pe koe hae mea tokoni Lelei. I ke mau ke ui ke whamalohi sino ke malohi ke hui. Pea moe uowa moe ngahi kupu koe o tō sino ke malohi e te vai ki he lue moe tuu pe ona te tō.
Okay. Thank
Mea
you.
kai te unga
Yeah.
mo Lelei ki ai.
Okay. Malo sita te o hanga o whaton lea ka ke alewa ko pe se tai mini. Ya ke share to anga a pito. Okay. I think her
Okay.
question may be for Joy. But I would just interpret, her question. But I do think that this is going to go on the part 2 with Joy. Her question, what would you suggest, what type of food that will help my bones and also, my body to help my body to prevent me from falling? And
That's a
why I
great
was thinking
question,
that-
and
yeah.
Joy is the dietitian, so
Oh, okay.
she'll have some good information. I will say that connecting nutrition and falls it's a great kind of connection that caller made. And so really making sure that you've got good nutrition to help keep your muscles strong and keep the rest of your body healthy is going to impact how you move around as well.
Thank you.
Good question, and more to come in part 2.
Yeah, koe e hao he pātū he hono. Whamatala reke ngai mea kai o tokoni ki o tau sino, ke o e mau tau kini, ma ngai mea tokoni o ne mau I lahi o tau kofua. Pea mo tokoni ki o tau sino, pea mo e hui mo tau Io, ka ke alewa ko pesi o share atu ai he Facebook a. Malo apito kalesita ka mai. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So there are a few other tools that can help prevent falls. Well, there's many, but a few more that I want to talk about. One is wearing footwear that doesn't slip when you're walking around. So I think Catherine has an example of like the socks with the grippy material on the bottom. But you know, good shoes that are supportive and won't slip, that's always an important thing to consider as well, like she's got right there. And then, oh, I think Catherine also has a lotion applicator to show. This is another example of a tool that can prevent you from having to reach down to your feet. A lot of people might have dry skin on their lower legs and want to be able to put lotion down by their feet, but reaching is very difficult and might put them at risk for falling. So this is a good tool to use. It's just a little pad that you can put the lotion on and then rub that onto your leg, for example. Some other things that I don't think Catherine has to demonstrate, but are always important and useful to help prevent falls are what a caller already mentioned, the cane or a walker, as is pictured on this slide. That's something that you might want to talk to your doctor, or if you work with a physical therapist, about what is the right tool for you to use if an item like that is right for you. There's also the far left picture on this slide is an emergency call pendant or bracelet, especially for people who live alone or alone a lot. That is maybe a useful tool so that they can call for help in case there's any problem. And then there are also tools like a shower chair or a tub bench to allow you to sit down when you're in the shower, so that if you feel a little unsteady, especially when you close your eyes to wash, that you are not at a high risk of falling. I think we've gone through most of my list. Oh, the last thing to consider was either a raised toilet seat, if you find your toilet seat is too low to get on and off of safely, or even a bedside commode. And that can even be placed next to your bed at night if you're someone that needs to get up a lot in the nighttime. That keeps you from having to rush to and from the bathroom. All right, I'm going to move on to the next slide. And this is looking at kind of the home environment. So we talked about equipment that you can use to help you feel safer, but then there's just the spaces of your home itself. As you can see in the third picture here, if your home is really cluttered and has a lot of things that you might trip on, such as this picture, you would really be at a higher risk of falling. So a few things to talk about, some general advice. Use a night light. This is really a good idea, especially if you're someone who gets up at night, even occasionally, because you might not want to turn on the whole light, but if it's completely dark, it's so easy to trip on something that you forgot was there, or the corner of a rug or something like that. A nightlight is so helpful for preventing that. Catherine already demonstrated the rubber mat to go under a rug to prevent it from slipping, and she will show us again. That's a good idea, or consider even getting rid of rugs if you find that they're always wrinkling up or you're catching your foot on them. You want to make sure you have clear pathways. It's okay to have some clutter if it's just out of the way of the paths that you need to walk down. And you might consider taping down cords if you have cords that are going across any of those pathways, especially. Any questions right now, Sylvia?
I need to share this, you know, ko ngai mea no na pehe ko to ko nila hi opito hangi ko walker ko te cane ko toilet seat hangi ko ngai mea ko lava pe ke ho holo fe ai hata ha to re ke reka pe lava pe ke to me ai I he alu ko ia ki he tu mama o ko tu ofi o fanga pe ngai fa tapu ka ko ngai mea ia mato aki mahu e ngā au pito. Pea kuto e whie mao pe foki, ka paurewa o ku whie mao ia ki ke ngawe aki, o whie mao reke ke tala noa rewa ki toke tā. ko ngā ke ota rewa ai ngai mea ko ia ke whahauwhi aki ai rolotonga ai whanonga ke ua te ke tokito pia ke lavea pia hoko ia ko e whatu tāmaki ke ho whanonga pia o lava i pia ai o mōre ai mo ui ai tola. Aia ko e ngai mea ia hange ko e talanoko ke shawa o whema o e whangaki i rapa ko uri ko he tōku ke tu uma upa kai me ki sea. Ko inga ke te alo ta ngutu wharerei ai koutou reke reika, ko inga he kulahi lewa tō te whakatu tā maki anu whaki ai sawa. Pea o lava pe ke hanga ota ia pe koe kore ke kupe family ke nau tō koni atu. Ko ia, ko ngai mea ko ia o fufia maua pito. Thank you so much, this is very, very helpful. And, all this information, are very relevant and very useful, to have our people learn from it, to prevent the falling risk.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm going to go on to our next slide now. Catherine's going to talk a little bit about movement.
Yeah, so kind of just to review, again, there was those 4 main questions we wanted to ask, all with the goal of preventing falls. So that first one was, how do you feel? Second one was, what tools could help prevent me from falling? Number 3 was, is there stuff in my way? And then number 4 is, do I move enough? And again, as a physical therapist, really making sure people are able to move in a way that's safe for them, not only to prevent the falls, but to keep them active so they can keep up their strength and their balance. Again, I recommend talking with your doctor and asking, if you talk with your doctor and tell them that you're interested in learning some exercises or learning how to improve your balance, they can refer for you to be in physical therapy. That's one of the nice things about the Elder Place program is that you will kind of have a built-in physical therapist and a built-in occupational therapist, which is Kaylin. So Kaylin, I'm gonna have you go ahead and go to the next slide for me. Just for the sake of time, again, you can ask to talk to a physical therapist and ask to talk to your doctor about exercises. There's good things to do, like march your legs up and down, pump your feet back and forth, practice some arm motions. But, since I don't know how each of you move, I'm hesitant to teach you exercises. There's also a lot of really good resources that you can find on the internet. So 2 things that I do find that are very helpful. One is for balance and one is for strength. For balance, Tai Chi there's a lot of evidence that shows Tai Chi can help your balance. Caitlin, if you click on that screen, does it open the YouTube page? I'll see if it works. And even if there's not sound, that's A-okay. So this is a good resource. You can just go onto YouTube and type in Tai Chi, and it will go through some different lessons that help with your balance. Go ahead and click kind of like halfway through there, Kaylin. Anywhere there is fine. Perfect. So this is an example. This is a little bit of a higher level Tai Chi movement, but you could do this holding on to your countertop. You could do it holding onto a chair. So if you're holding on, you're kind of practicing doing some of these different motions. Again, all of these things are really good to help with your balance. If you don't feel that you could do this without someone helping you though, again, talk with your doctor. So that way you can come up with a plan for a way to improve your balance. I'll have you go ahead and close that page, Kaylin, and then go back to the PowerPoint.
Seems to not want to go. Hang on, I'll get
there.
there.
No worries. Okay. Yep, and we'll go to the next slide. Thank you. So this is another example. Again, you can just go onto YouTube and look up some examples. Go ahead and click on this video. So this one is put together actually by the National Institute on Aging through the National Institute of Health. And so it's got some really good videos that have been researched and put together in order to find a way to help our older generation safely exercise. One of the things I like about this video is, or this series of videos, is they have exercises sitting down in the chair, and then there's different kind of levels of, do you need an exercise where you're sitting and not doing as much, or do you need kind of a higher level movement? Again, something to look at, but I would recommend working with your doctor and your health team in order to find what's safest for you. And again, that's what we try to do at Elder Places, all come together to make sure we're finding something safe.
So you said that the best thing to is to work with the doctor, with your primary doctor. Eh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, working with your, again, before you can exercise safely, it's important to know, are there any kind of risks that would interfere with you exercising? So any concerns with your heart health or your bones or the medications you take? And you want to make sure that that's something that you're starting off with the right exercises for you. So the doctor would be the one to refer you to the physical therapist.
I wanted to just take this little second here just to say hello to thank you Sioane Taifi now, thank you so much. They said very true, and they said they really support, and it's a very nice program. These are the people that watching it. And Sunia Golo, thank you. And also Lisini Vakalahi. If you guys have any question, you're more than welcome to write it. But all of them, said this is a great program. Helping them to have more wisdom and knowledge, about to prevent risk, falling, risk. Thank you.
Thank you, yeah. And really, so we've talked about exercise, we've talked about adding equipment, we've talked about how to change your environment, talking with your doctor. So kind of to summarize, what should you do if you do have a fall? And that's really going to be what we just said, talking with your doctor. Go ahead and go to the next slide, Kaylin. And then working with your doctor to come up with a plan. And that plan could involve movement. Go ahead and keep clicking through for a while, Kaylin. This is where everything pops up. Talking to your doctor how you feel, working with them to get different equipment, learning what equipment would be good for you, figuring out how to change your environment. Again, it's important if you've had a fall or you feel like you're at risk of falls, really putting some of these things into action and working with your doctor and working with your health team and working with your support system, whether that's your family or your community, to come up with a plan that you can put into action to keep you safe. I think that's kind of the general idea that we wanted to share with you guys. Any other specific questions or things that we can do to help support this community with staying safe and preventing falls?
Yeah, I have one question here that came from one of the, it's almost like a physician assistant, or some doctors, like our native doctors that always join with our broadcast about like health advice. He's asking to, thank you so much, for this great program, and thank you for explaining everything so clear. I just have one thing that I heard you talking about, exercise. So even with the exercise, are you talking about exercise, if it's safe for your body to talk to the doctor, or you just need to see about the exercise if it fit, with your body?
And I would say a little bit of both. So I always want to put out there, versus not knowing what every listener's health is like, to again make sure first that you're talking to your doctor and that they recommend that it's safe for you to exercise. And for almost every single person, there's going to be a type of exercise that is very good for them. It's just a matter of what is good exercise for me versus Sylvia versus our new enrollee versus your grandparents are all going to look a little bit different. So I want to make sure that the exercises everyone chooses to do is something that is safe for them and going to be beneficial for them. And that's where the doctor and your physical therapist and exercise videos that you can find online can all come together to help find the best option for you.
Thank you so much for answering, and we do greatly appreciate, like a great program talking about how to help everyone, to prevent them from falling. I took care of my mother up till she was 95, about like 3 years ago. She passed. But that's
Sorry
one
to
of
hear
the
that.
things, she fell on the mid part of 2017, and then she passed on November 2018. But we do know that, it's gonna happen, but thanks God, that we have some time to be with her, because the doctor said maybe she's not gonna make it in 3 months, but we were trying to do our best. But we see how very dramatic, the falling. Mau whamalo atu ko ngā koe Polokalama koe ni, o whamatala ni ki ngai whaunga ke oua e whasisi ai, mo whahawhi ai koutou rekereka i he nau tō, hange koe ke mao ke sio ke ātakai ko ke nowhai, ka pau whono, ho whare he ngahi mea ke lava ke lua e pe oku ata, pea maa ko i ngā kia hala i raki te ke humuai, pea ko hamea e tatu si ai ho lue, pea moa su oku pe unga Lelei ki hono, ki ho vae, ki ngā ki ho lue, koe te whi maa su e te, ko e ngā pe koe sio koe, ki he ngai taim whengata a koe ni, oku lahi ke tō ai koutou reire ka pe hoko ai, koe wisia lahi a ke nā mo ui. Thank you so much. Koe taha ngai mea ana e nana whalei. O sai ke te talanoa ma pe ke te toke tā. Pe ko whewhe nai e ngahi exercise na aus ko ia pa toi. Pe a mawhesi ai hato. Ha konga i hoto hui. Pe koe hange koe ngahi mea koe whekau aku mo e whamalo sino. O whe ma pe ke te talanoa ke te toke tā ke le o mai ngai whalei Lelei ka kita. O whekau aki pa mo e ngai mea koe ke tokoni. Koe ke whakahauwhi e kita me he tō o la vea. Pea hau koe koe whatamaki ki he mo ui. Nā se au se tea hau ki te, paka hau ki tāna. Koe ngā koe wha o se lewa Polokalama.
I ko popo pēu ki ngai whamatara koe nei tukai tā.
Ia.
Tonu pēki tau mi mui ki ngai mea koe.
Eo.
Ngu maui ngā tai me ko tō pēu te ngoi. Te whehu i ke te tukai tā. Ki tōponi mai ki mai poi a kā.
Malo. Thank you. This is an elderly that his first appointment with Providence Elder Place is tomorrow. And he said, thank you so much. He really appreciated the great program. And he totally agreed. Anything, it's always good, to go and ask your doctor for the best advice, what is the next step to move on to. It's best to go and get the advice from the doctor, because that's what your doctor is there for. Thank you. Thank you so much. I don't have any more questions, but I have a few people here. They wrote, they said this is one of the great programs. Thank you so much, for helping us, to make us take care of ourselves better. And we hope that you can come back in the future.
Thank you so much. It's been really great to interact with you guys and just learn more about your community. And we're excited to keep partnering together and excited for you to hear more about some nutrition from Joy.
Yes.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Catherine.
Thank you so much, Kayleen, and also Kathleen. Thank you both, and we do look forward to have another great program with you guys. Thank you for giving out the information to help prevent the falling risk. Thank you again. Have a great evening.
Bye.
Thank you, you as well.
Thank you. Okay.
Hi, Sylvia.
Thank you. we'll play a little melodious song here, and then we would like to welcome Joy. And hello, Joy. And then
Hi.
after that, this is one of the best part here that everybody are looking for, because the food is like, like the doctor said, food is a medicine to our body. We eat to
Yes.
live, or we eat to die.
That's right. It does play a big part.
And the food is a social part for our culture.
Hmm.
Yeah. If you don't have any food in any events, it's not a good event.
Right.
Thank you. Koe Polokalama kane amana ke tango kat kiai. Koe talano ai ni pa mo e taha ko ia o e ka nutritionist ai ko Joy. Ko Joy tene whai ne ngai whamatala ko ngai me ai no ko whai whi mao koe ki tau whanong kiai. Ko Joy e whamatala ki ngai whonga mao me tokoni ko ia o tokoni ko e kia ki tau tolu ke tau mo i Lelei ai. Pia mo i Lelei ai mo tau kofua. Hek mai o wha awalisi, ko e pese te walu nima o e kakai koe o e paswe ki tau te whito, ki tonga pa moha moa, o ku huesia ki nau tolu e tau pehepe ko e kidney failure. Ko e mau ko no nau ngahi kofua, ka ko e mei tau te whito, me he tau ngahi mau me atokoni. Pea ko iai o tau whewhia ko e mau kana Joy ke ne whahane ngai whamatala pa tene wahe mai. Ai me au tokoni ke mo ilelea tau kofua, pea mo me tokoni ko ia o pune lava ke ne mau ilahi ai aho tau ngahi kofua mo ngahi o kano tau sino. Joy, welcome. I just have my little special guest here today. It's George Puloka. He's 80 years old. And his first appointment with Providence Elder Place is tomorrow. But he's excited, to be part of the program today. I will ask, the first question, because I know you're going to talk about, the great topic that everyone wanted to hear that. If you can help us, tell us what is the most important thing, in our diet, and to have a healthy eating ways as becoming our habit to live a healthy life. Thank you so much, Joy. Welcome to Voice of South Pacific broadcast.
Thank you, Sylvia. Malo itau lava.
Oh, you already know how to speak Tongan, eh?
Yes. Well, I love to learn about different cultures, and I've been lucky enough to listen to such beautiful Tongan music in my church, and it's just beautiful. So I feel very fortunate today to be able to be here, and also welcome our new Providence Elder Place gentleman that will be joining tomorrow. So looking forward to having you with Providence Elder Place.
Malo.
Thank you.
Malo. So Sylvia, you asked what is probably the most important thing to do in terms of your nutrition. Just to point out that nutrition works hand in hand with exercise. So with what Catherine and Kaylin talked about, in order to be healthy, you need to do both. They work hand in hand. You can't just do one or the other. So really including both exercise and nutrition is very important. I know that you asked about specific things in terms of people and their diseases. And, I work with various people and participants is what we call them at Providence Elder Place. They have diabetes, they have hypertension, They have heart failure, cardiovascular disease, obesity, kidney failure that eventually leads to dialysis. People also have dementia, malnutrition, cancer, inflammation caused by inflammation that can cause arthritis and even stomach issues. And one of the things that I really like to start off with people is making sure that they understand that nutrition plays a big part in helping to prevent these diseases, but also hoping not to accelerate these diseases if you already have them. If I could just talk about a success story first, Sylvia, if that would be okay?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Go ahead. That's your
Okay.
Yeah, that's your program today.
Okay. Well, I just wanted, to let you know what type of
Yes.
people I work with at Providence Elder Place. And I work with a variety of people. This current person, I won't say her real name. Her name is Helen. She's about 75 years old. And she had issues with hypertension. She was pre-diabetic. She had obesity, depression, and pain issues. And she just felt there were a lot of barriers in her life. She couldn't walk. She couldn't go long distances. She used food for comfort. It made her happier. And it was the one thing she turned to when she was sad and bored. And, when I first met her, I asked her what her goal was in meeting me. And these are one of the first things I always ask my participants, is to see what their goals are. And for her goal, it was to live. And she wanted to move around with a pain, and she just wanted to walk. And she knew that nutrition would have to be a big part of this. So I asked her questions. I made her understand what were the barriers involved. And that in order to understand these barriers, she really had to, or in order to reach these goals, she really had to understand these barriers. And so I told her, don't ignore them, because they're always going to be there. And so we talked about, she actually came up with what her barriers were. She was eating excessively. She was making poor choices, and she knew that had to change. And when I met with her, she was really motivated. And that's a really big key into making changes with your nutrition, is to really be motivated. She wanted that support, and I was happy to work with her. So again, she told me what she was doing. She was eating a lot of carbohydrates, a lot of rice, a lot of pastas, noodles. Is it Simon that the Tongans like to eat? The noodles, and dessert daily. And she also had a lot of canned foods and frozen foods. In my culture, I'm Filipino, and a lot of us are guilty of eating Spam and corned beef. I don't know if that's something that some of the Tongan community might also eat, but
Yes.
It really affects your health. And so these were just some of the things we talked about. So we talked about those goals, and her first goal was actually to cut down on portion sizes. So
I'm
she
sorry,
said
Joy, I missed that part. Cut down on which one?
cut down on portion sizes.
Oh, okay.
So that was her one goal. She actually had two goals, excuse me. Cut down on portion sizes and reduce her dessert intake. She wanted to go cold turkey on desserts, but I said that would be too hard and there would be too much temptation. So, when you want to practice eating healthier, you have to really give yourself some grace. You can't do things too quickly, because then you will revert to your old eating habits. So she did the goals first. She cut down on her portion sizes. She ate dessert every other day, and eventually it went down to one time a day. And she lost weight. She started walking. She stopped being in pain. She didn't become diabetic, which was a really big deal. She didn't have to go on any medications. But she's one of my success stories, and I met with her frequently because she was quite motivated. And eventually her weight started to just stay the same. And I said, are you exercising? And she goes, not like the way I should. So she eventually started exercising and started to lose more weight. So she's one of my success stories.
Wanted to thank you those that are inside. Sonia Kolo, thank you. Yeah, Ofat Siausi said Ofatu. Wakimoto kota pe zane tai fina mala opito e kau mai me popo mai ke tau Polokalama e pe talana e pe ngai ta whaako ia ki he mo Lelei. You said something, if you still eat, the heavy stuff, but have to cut down the portion size. So, if I wanted to get that clear, kapau oko, if you wanted to just, remain and still eating the food that you always eat, but you have to cut down the portion, is that what you're saying?
Mm-hmm. So, when I go to my auntie's for a party, we usually get these really big dinner, not dinner plates, but buffet platters for your own size. And that's not what a normal portion is. So when you think of a normal portion, you think of a normal dinner plate. And this is like a normal dinner plate right here. When I say have a normal dinner plate, what I like to see on a normal dinner plate is to have half your plate be half fruits and half vegetables, and then a quarter of it be a grain that contains whole wheat, or whether it be brown rice or a slice of whole wheat bread or a whole grain pasta. And then I like to have a lean protein on the other fourth of that plate. So lean chicken breast, selecting foods that are lean, fish, those are some good choices to have. So when you get your plate, think of it as just filling half with fruits and vegetables, filling a quarter of it with a protein, and filling a quarter of it with a healthy type of grain. And that's a normal portion size.
That's a normal portion, okay.
So if you think about like a piece of meat or a piece of chicken, it could be the size of a deck of cards. A piece of fruit would be the size of a baseball. So those are just some examples of what portion sizes are. And Sylvia, I'd be happy to, give out some information on where to find out handouts or information on serving sizes, if anyone is interested.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I have one question here that I just texted. The question is, I like to eat a lot of the sweet stuff, and I'm having a difficult time cutting it. And then also my doctor told me that I have high blood pressure, that to stop eating food, the processed food that have a lot of sodium. What will be your best advice? To cut down the sodium or cut down the sugar? Which one is more damaging to my body?
Both of them can be very damaging to your body. Eating a lot of sugar is eating a lot of calories, which can lead to weight gain and eventually to obesity, but also can lead to other diseases such as diabetes, can lead to kidney failure, eventually leading to dialysis, but also increased sugar. It's like your body wants it all the time. And when you don't have it, you start crashing. And it ruins your mood when you have too much and then you don't have it anymore. And also, it's just not good for your liver. It can cause damage to your body, your cells, that just lead to different diseases. In terms of sodium is very bad for your heart. When you eat a lot of sodium, it draws in a lot of fluid. So you could have fluid gains on, if you've seen people with swollen legs or you know someone who has congestive heart failure, that fluid is being brought into your heart and causing pressure there. So it's not good for you. So also, increased sodium affects the kidneys. It makes your kidneys work faster in trying to get rid of it. What I say to, when your doctor says stop both, you want to make it a goal to see what type of sugar item am I eating the most or drinking the most. And when I think of, one things that I like to recommend if someone is diabetic is stopping juice or stopping soda or both. Juice and soda have a lot of sugar. Let me see. A can of soda has 10 teaspoons of sugar in it. And that's a lot of sugar. And the recommendation, for females per day is to have 7 teaspoons of sugar. And for males, it's 9 teaspoons of sugar a day. So, you have that 1 can of soda, you've already went beyond your limit. If you have 3 cans of soda, you've gone 3 times above, plus more your limit. So that's added calories and added sugar that can affect you and your weight and also cause diseases. In terms of the sodium, one of the things that I would recommend is start cooking at home if you're able to. You can monitor how much salt, or instead of using salt, use fresh herbs or spices. One of my favorite things I like to use is just using garlic and onions, cooking that, adding pepper. You could flavor vegetables with using like a chicken broth, or putting garlic powder on it and put some pepper on it. There's just various ways in which you can flavor your food. I understand that sometimes it's really hard in terms of time, not being able to cook for yourself. But, if you can prep the night before, even chopping up some fresh fruits and fresh vegetables so it's easy to access the next day, having cut up your meat so that you can cook the next day as well, or even throwing it into a crock pot is also really easy to do. You can throw in a whole chicken in there and put some poultry seasoning, a little bit of pepper, garlic, and onions, and you're set. And you could probably, last week I actually made that, and I used the sauce from there and made a really nice gravy, because I like to eat items that are like loco moco or something like that. Some meat and gravy is one of the things that are one of my favorite things, but I also need to be mindful of how much I eat and how much stuff I put in there, because it can be fattening too. So, but when you cook at home, you can decide how much to put in your food and what types of food you're going to purchase and make a meal with.
Oh, thank you so much, Joy. Those are very, very great information. I have a question here that somebody is saying, you mentioned about like having a lot of the sodium. It's very dangerous, and it also can damage my liver too. You mentioned something also like I can use the natural herbs like onion and maybe chicken broth and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
If I can still eat, my food in the morning and my lunch and my dinner, and if I can cut it in half, what will be the great things, that I need to avoid? Because I always eat pancake in the morning, and I eat eggs and bacon and sausage. What is something that you can recommend, to avoid? And the corned beef, I eat it almost every other day, because that's something that we like to eat, the corned beef, that's us islanders, we eat that all the time.
Yeah. If possible, I would save your corned beef to, if you're making changes, make it as a treat. It's one time a week kind of thing. I know it's hard not to have it because it's so part of what you grew up on and part of your culture. I'm not going to tell you don't eat it, but really kind of limit your amount of when you have it. Don't have it every other day or every day, but maybe make it like, okay, this is what I'm going to have on the weekend. You still want to be able to eat the foods you enjoy, but you just really have to be careful not to have that all the time. Corned beef is really high in sodium. If you have issues with hypertension or kidney failure, that can really affect you. For a substitute for breakfast items, you say you like to have eggs and sausages and pancakes. Those, for me, when I think of those are treat items that you would have on the weekends too. If you can stick to something like having oatmeal, a whole grain cereal, adding some milk to it, some fresh berries to it, or making a smoothie. Smoothies are really easy to make, but they're also quite filling too. Adding a low-fat yogurt to the smoothie with some mangoes and oranges, but not having too much of the fruit because, fruit also has a lot of sugar, but eating whole fruit is better for you than having juice. I like to add vegetables to my smoothies, even putting spinach in it. You may think it might taste bad, but the sweetness from the fruit makes it taste really good. And to add extra protein in there, throw some almonds in there. It gives it a nice texture, but it also feels like you're having something that's making you feel more full. So those are just some suggestions. When you have pancakes, I know that I like to make really large pancakes on the weekend, but a normal size of a pancake is a CD disc. So, it's not very big. We all in America, our serving sizes are very skewed. So when you have that pancake, think of a CD. It's not very big, but that's a serving size for a pancake. You want to be careful with the bacon and the sausages too. Same as corned beef, very high in sodium, and also fat too. If you like the taste of certain, sausages and bacon, ham is a lean meat, but you have to be careful because it's also high in sodium.
Okay, thank you so much. I have one question here. Someone is getting the coconut, the fresh coconut. So they're talking about the young coconut, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And they also drink the juice. Because of the potassium, she said, I'm also eating the coconut. I was told that it's a healthy fat. Which one of those two that you could really recommend? The coconut meat or the avocado to help my body?
For me, I love the avocado. The avocado is a healthy fat, really high in omega-3 fatty acids, which is really healthy for your heart. The one thing about avocados, are very high in calorie. So when you have a piece of avocado, I would limit myself or yourself to about a quarter of an avocado if it's a large Hass avocado. Coconut, again, is, drinking the water from the coconut should be fine, but eating an excess amount of coconut, when I think of coconut, I use it very sparingly. It's not something that I would eat half of a coconut or anything. I would use it to sprinkle coconut on my cereal or a dessert. So it can be high in calorie if you have too much of it. Again, too much of a good thing will always be high in calorie. Even if it's an avocado, that's a healthy food item. Having too much of it can cause weight gain, but you're still getting the good fat, but having too much of it isn't good for you. So everything should be in moderation.
Okay, I have one question here. I am a caregiver to my mother. My mom is 85 4 years old. And I'd like to help out as much as possible to make her healthy. Last 2 weeks, she has a swell leg, and find out she has a lot of salt intake. So what did you recommend? I have to take off all those things, but those are food from the islands that she loves to eat. The tapioca, the yam, the Hawaiian banana, and the taro. Do you think they're still okay, or the rice, or I should go by the rice, or what can you recommend? And the tapioca too.
Yeah, it's always, for me, I would want your mom to continue to eat the foods that she grew up in. Again, it's all about moderation. For a taro, I would say have half a serving, or actually half a cup of that would be a serving of taro. So any kind of sweet potato, a potato or a taro, limit her amount of how much she's actually eating. If you are having any type of potato, like a sweet potato or a regular potato, eat the skin on it, because the skin from the potatoes are very high in fiber, and it makes you stay full, but it's also good for blood sugars. It helps stabilize blood sugars. It also helps lower cholesterol levels. Excuse me, just need to take a sip of water.
It's okay. Bless you.
Thank you. Also helps lower cholesterol levels, so you want to have fiber-rich foods. When you have, it's the green bananas that your mom enjoys, is what I'm thinking. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so the green bananas probably will have less sugar than the very, very ripe bananas. So having one banana, not having 3 per day, if she enjoys that. Again, it's all about moderation. If your mom likes to have the bananas, have one at breakfast. If she likes having the taro, have one serving at lunchtime. If she likes having sweet potatoes, then have that one serving at dinner time. I wouldn't say have a banana, sweet potato, and taro in one serving, but to always have one or the other, but also including a lean protein with that meal, because it's going to make her stay full too. I think she had mentioned, if you could remind me of the question again, Sylvia, I want to make sure I answer it.
Yeah, thank you, Joy. No, you're doing great. I just have this one person here that just joined. She said, sorry, I missed, the first hour. That's okay. We just started at 6, with the nutritionist. Please tell me, my whole family are known as one of the highest obese. And we have a lot of them. We have 2 people in our family on dialysis right now. Please, can you help us? We listen in, and we're so thankful that we have people like this, to explain to us what's need from us to be focused to get a more healthier body.
Mm-hmm.
Could you please tell us, what is the more healthier stuff, and what is the most damaging food to our body?
Okay. So in terms of kidney failure, I just want to make sure that those who are on dialysis are also utilizing the dietitians that are at the dialysis center, because they're just so knowledgeable too. And we work with them as well at Providence Elder Place. In terms of trying to prevent kidney failure, one of the best things you can do for yourself is avoid high sodium foods. Again, that's like the Spam, the corned beef, the sausages, the bacon. We have to think of those foods as being more of a treat item. They're not something that we need to be eating every day, because the salt is very hard on the kidneys, especially if there's a history of that. You want to ensure that you're trying your best to avoid salt. There's options at the store that are healthier. Mrs. Dash is has spices and herbs in there, so dried spices and dried herbs. You can use basil, oregano, again, garlic and onions are one of my favorite things to use. Even putting lemon on food to flavor it is also really yummy. And you can also grow things during the summer in your yard. You know, things don't have to be expensive. You can grow cilantro or parsley, green onions in the garden, and use that to cook healthier too. Avoiding things that are high in sodium that are canned or frozen, looking at the labels or just looking at a label, and if it says low sodium, select those items. Sometimes I know it's easier to buy these items because they're easier to prepare, but looking at those foods that say low sodium would be the key. One of the number one things I always like to tell people if they want to stay healthy, eat your fresh fruits and vegetables. You want to eat a rainbow of that. Vegetables have they have these fighting things in them that are called antioxidants, and they're known to help prevent various diseases such as cancer, heart disease, diabetes, rich in fiber, rich in, you know, vitamin C, and iron and A, and there's just various micronutrients in there that are beneficial for the body. So include the fresh fruits and vegetables in your diet. That's number one. You can have, for me, I love to have greens. I don't know if you cook with taro leaves. You know, I've made taro leaves with coconut milk, but I also have to be careful how much coconut milk I put in those things.
So taro leaves is good, you know, but it's depending on how much fattening, you know, like from the coconut milk that you put on.
Right,
Sometimes
and also
we add on mayonnaise too.
What was that?
Sometimes we add on mayonnaise too.
And so mayonnaise is adding extra calories and fat
Right.
into there. So you kind of have to think, what can I do to flavor, you know, my taro leaves or my greens? I like to use a little bit of even just some shrimp. Not a whole lot, because you just want to use it as flavoring. Even if it's a little bit of lean pork, you're cutting it into tiny little pieces and sauteing it in with garlic and onions, and then cooking the lean pork in it, and then putting your taro leaves and a little bit of coconut milk. You don't want to have too much coconut milk. You can probably add some, I would say, some broth to it. So chicken broth, you know, that's adding flavor to it, but you can still get that coconut taste by just adding a little bit of coconut milk to it.
Thank you so much, Joey. This is a great information. I have this elderly here. His first day is tomorrow at the Providence Elder Place clinic, the one in Kent on Central Avenue. Since he's 80 years old, I would like to ask him, you know, what makes him maybe stay healthy. He's kind of more like a farmer, and he also raises animals, cows, farm in the islands. Sausi, ka mea ke bea ko ke mo I foloa ko inga ko ta o wal ngofulun ko fono nga den ho ta wal ngofulun mawa. Ka ha ngai mea toko ni pa ke ha mea ke whenga ki whasisi. Toko ni ke ka whanongo ko pai pai ya.
O whawhita ye gi me tau whai maku. O su ta wang futu puen. Ben ngatai ko whiwhi ki togonia ki whatoko whae ma wau ki tōre kreka koe ni. Whainga mea kai totonu ki tau kai. Ko tui, ko ngai mea kai koe whakatonga koe tau tōru. O sai ka tō peka pau peke ai whakawhi unga. Ai sisi, me tau te whiti hala I lō ma ngai. Me loi lesi ma mea. Koe a ko tui, o sai pe me tau mea kai tō ngā tau tōru. Kai whakafufua ko tui mea mau inga tā ai. He tau mao I tau tōru o furahi. Pe toi lolo I o ngako mea kai tupu ai. E tau whiau pe moi. Mahaki koe tau whii ai.
Oia. Malo opito Sausi. Yeah, Joy, I know he's speaking our native language, but he said, like, he eat mostly the natural food, like in the islands, he'll have the papaya, all natural. But he just said, it's always nice, like what you were explaining, to limit and cut down the volume of the food intake. I have one question here, Joy. What is the most important thing? To eat the healthy stuff, or I can eat all the food I wanted to eat, but to cut down the portion?
It's both of them are important. I'm sorry, there's no way out of it, I have to remind myself too, things in moderation.
Yes.
There's so much good food out there. We want to try it, we want to eat it, but in order for us to be healthy or continue to be healthy and to prevent, the various diseases that are very common in our cultures, we really have to eat in moderation, even
Right.
though they're our most favorite foods that we love. It's okay, you're at a party, go enjoy yourself, because you don't go to parties every day. So I'm not going to tell you to stop things. It really is in moderation, So, and if you are at a party and you see all this food, one of the things that I say is have a big glass of water before you go. Get yourself full from that, and maybe you won't want to stuff yourself or overstuff yourself.
Thank you. That was great, I think Celsi just kind of laughed, Celsi means George, because that's what he was trying to explain, but I didn't fully interpret. He's saying, it's like, even though it's so small, or how big it is, but the way how we put it in, it's like, be wise, and you have to just, be wise and be safe and be careful,
Right.
the amount and what you put in there, if it's all going to be help your body or damaging your body,
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's good advice. Thank you.
He's
Yes.
still walking around with no walker, anything.
That's awesome.
And he tried to exercise and
He looks so
drinks a lot of
good.
water. Yeah. So, and he always wanted to be happy. He missed going to the islands. Now he wanted to go travel around the world. He want to go to Israel, when the border is open up. But he tried to eat and practice a healthy life, especially with his food intake.
Right.
Yeah,
You
just
sound
on our way over here, I asked, like to order some stuff, from a fast food restaurant, just snack. He said no to everything. I said, what do you want? He said, I only want black coffee. And they
Wow.
were asking, do you want cream and sugar? No. now, now that no wonder why he's still like alive and well.
We could get some great advice from him.
Yes, so kung nito may famalo may ayaw tao for ida kato nga famalo at kay.
Malo at tokon fai mai. Nai whamatal whi kawaki mo Lelei. Malo bit.
Malo apito. Malo apito. Thank you very much.
Malo.
Yeah. He said thank you very much, for all the health advice, and I think that I will give you the last chance. We're coming to 6:39 right now. We'll almost just have 5 more minutes, and have anything else to share?
Yeah, just some of the basic things I really like to tell people, it really is moderation.
Moderation.
Really understanding what portion sizes are, really looking out for, supersizing. That's a big American thing when you go out, is supersizing your food, and you don't want to do that. It just is too much temptation. If you feel like you're at a restaurant or you're ordering fast foods, maybe just eat half of it and save it for later. Now that's an idea. But really, moderation. I really recommend adequate hydration by just drinking water. It
Hydration,
is, water is, it's like gold. It really clears your system out. It makes your skin look good. It makes you feel hydrated. As you get older, you're at higher risk for dehydration. And you want to just make sure you drink adequate amounts of water. Now, we want to be careful with those who are on dialysis because they do have limits in how much they need to take. So this does not account for those who are on dialysis. But, for, the younger people and, older too who have normal kidneys, just drinking adequate fluids. I say stop juice and stop soda. It's very high in sugar. They're empty calories, and it's just not healthy for you to have too much. I would rather have you have a whole fruit instead of juice. When you think of one orange and 1 cup of orange juice, think about how many oranges it takes to squeeze to make that juice. It'll be about 3 to 4 to 5 oranges. So you're getting increased calories from that, but you're not getting the fiber that's offered through that whole fruit. So selecting whole fruit instead of juice. Include vegetables daily and fruits daily in your diet, high in fiber. They are fighting nutrients in there that take care of your body. And select a rainbow of fresh fruits and vegetables. Select lean protein. That also helps you stay full. And if you have diabetes, it helps stabilize your blood sugars. And make sure you have fiber-rich foods. We like to eat our white rice. I say if you can swap that out occasionally for some brown rice because it has some fiber in it, it will help prevent your blood sugars from shooting up too much. And you also want to eat rice in moderation. Have half a cup. It's difficult, but that's a serving size. So again, get familiar with serving sizes, eat in moderation, get your fresh fruits and vegetables in your diet, make sure your grains are high in fiber, and drink lots of water.
Thank you so much, Joy. I'll just take 1 minute here just to say something in our language, Hange ko yana ne whamatala tu fo o matu aki mau inga apito. Whakasisi ngai mea ko tape, ngai mea kai kapa nge ko e pekani, sosisi, kapa pulu. Ngai mea kai ko lahia sodium ne mau I lahia apito ato kini. Pa ko ne te whamanat mai pe hange ko ngai juice, hange ko sota. Kai ke pe kapa o ke inu pe ai hange kapa ko o kui pe ko fresh orange juice o kai ke not from concentrate. Pea te whamanatu mai ka nge koe tau lai lu, koe lolo I koe lai lu. Pea ke ngawe aki pea nge koe oni pea moe mea mo ki whakasisi pe ki me niu. He koe tokoni ai pea ki a te koe. O kui kai koe uhinga koe niu, koe hataha usai pe ko. Pea hala aki ka koe tau whenga pe ki tau tokoni, ki tau si mo ui pe po tau whanonga I he ngai whainga maalia o mo ui. O kui kai ki tau nofo I he mamahi mo toe. Moe hange koe lau tangi moe toe, pea moe mamahi I he ngai whakoutua o mamani koe ni. Ko pau pe koe whono pe tau whanonga, ka tau mo hange koe lau koe tō whalafola e tamatui, mo whiri whakapotopoto. Pea koe ia rewa pe, tau mau mea tokoni whakapotopoto. Koe ke tau hoka tu aki e tau whanonga, ko I ngā koe kaulelei kia te koe kaulelei ke takotoa, pea si kaulelei ki hoki whamiri mo whanau. We want to thank you so much, and also the Providence of the place for all this great information, all the health advice, and also prevent people from falling. All this information, it's very, very helpful, and we do greatly appreciate, and we'll continue on, with this great program. I know that some of them were not able to come on today, but we look forward, these are very important information that we need to continue on practicing the healthy lifestyle. Thank you so much, Joy.
Malo for having me, Sylvia.
Malo au pito tahine. Malo.
No fa'a. Did I say that correctly?
Whakawhetai.
Thank you. Bye,
you.
everybody. I wish I had more time. I have so much to say.
Oh, I'll give you this couple minutes here, you know, if you have anything else to share.
It's okay, Sylvia. Thank you again. So happy that he's joining Providence Elder Place.
George, yeah.
Okay, take care, everybody. Thank you again.
Malo o fa'atu mean thank you, love you. Thank you so much, Joy.
Love you too.
And we'll look forward, to another program in about 2 weeks from now.
Nice. All
Thank
right. Bye-bye.
Great. Yeah, thank you. We look forward for other place tomorrow. Now is the time, we'll take this little minute here to share you how they go whamore pe a whaparangi ka te mau ate ki viteo koe ni. Ko angain e nau tamu a koe e nau ngawe ke toko ni I ai koutou rekereka. Malo pito sela. O tonga koe ni e ri lewa ice cream ni ke bebe. O foi whare e koe ni anu lewa ice cream ngani ke bebe. Oua. O whatu tāmaki.
Lisa works full-time and cares for her aging mom. Her days were spent doing housework, helping mom with personal care, making appointments, arranging in-home help, managing medications, running errands, and driving mom to all her appointments. Lisa was exhausted and overwhelmed, and she worried about how to pay for mom's increasing care needs. Then Lisa discovered Providence Elder Place PACE, a program of all-inclusive care for the elderly. Providence Elder Place PACE meets mom's needs all under one roof. With Elder Place PACE, she has a care team of professionals. They work together to coordinate and deliver mom's health and care needs. Her team includes her primary care provider, nurse, social worker, chaplain, dietitian, caregiver, dentist, rehab therapist, recreation therapist, transportation driver, and pharmacist. Mom's team makes sure she has the care, medical supplies, medications, equipment, and social enrichment she needs for overall well-being. Lisa met with a Providence Elder Place PACE enrollment specialist. She learned that the program is both health insurance and healthcare provider combined. Mom qualifies because of her age and she lives in the service area. She needs help with mobility and transfers, can live safely in the community, such as her own home or in assisted living, and she agrees to receive her health and personal care from Providence Elder Place PACE. Best of all, Elder Place PACE accepts both private pay and Medicaid. Lisa doesn't have to worry about how to pay for mom's care as it increases. Now Lisa can relax and enjoy her time with mom. The Providence Elder Place PACE care team handles all the details. Is Providence Elder Place PACE right for your family? Find out. Call today.
Malo opito, na motak mea mai whakia ki he Polokalama whawhawha ko ia nei toko atu ko i whia toko ni ba me he Providence Elder Place. Ko Providence Elder Place ko nau tamo awha ki nofo pe api o malo lo ai pia ko ngai whitu pe ia ke nofo ai koutou rekereka. There's no other place like home. Pia ko ia ai ko e nau ngai whamatala ko toko ni ke mak mea toko ni ke ua mau ai pia wesi ai o whoutu ai ho kidney. Aia koe tau ifo ke kini ko tau kofu wā ia. Pea koe nau whare i kona ke ngahi mau mea toko ni. Whakasisi e kai mea ngā kō. Pea moe kai e ngahi mea kō kai māsi ma. Hange koe tau ngahi kapapulu. Hange pe neho ko tau ngāwe ake hange koe sipi. Ka plai fo ke ngā kō ai. Koe tau whafuafua pe. Pea tau whinga ere ke tu usi fo ke vai ua. E tau mea toko ni koe kai koe pongpongi. Hoa tā mo e whiawhi. Ko e uta Lelei ai pepa whie mālie. He glava peke ne toi mau e pe mo tau ate. Ko ia ko ngahi toko ni ko tau koe ni o ku lava leke hange koe ni ko ngahi su Lelei ko ia haki whariki Lelei ki he tōpu pe ko haki sea. Ka tala ko tau peke toi tā. Ka whē mao lewa, ke mō ngawe aki a ngai tokoni koe ni, pia me he elder place. Aia koe oku ikai ke aha totongi e taha. Ka ke whetutake whangatono hake pē, ke e whika telefoni, koe ua noa ono, tolu anoa ni ma tolu anima. Ka taki masela fotu atu he ata. Ua noa ono, tolu anoa, 5325 206 320 5325. Ua noa ono, tolu anoa, nima tolu anima. Aia ka paurewa o kai piha o whehu I whetutaki hanga tona peke anau tolu. Ko ngahi Polokalama Lelei eni, o te alpe ke whetu upe taha. One stop does it all. Lava pe ai ko toke tā nifa, toke tā mata, iai me nutritionist, iai mo e nau whamalo sino, iai mo e nau transportation ke o mai o ave koe ki he appointmenti, kai ke to he la iha family hono ave koe, pia lava pe ke heka pe ai muhataha o ke loto ke I alu mo ai. Aia koe kamata e se ausi, koe se ausi? Hana I mea na ke si loto ai pe ke kawe a ke Polokalama koe ni?
Kai ngā wifo ke maina ko sina o korea ki awe au ki e polikliniki downtown. Nē taki tō muia.
Koe.
Tā mai ka teo te sai ke hanga whitongi mai ki he kautaha ko ni.
Koe.
E nau kuroto ki e. Koe ngā nau tāma nia. Ka koe hui nau mua fo e nea whitokoni ki he mea koe kau wai mai.
Koe.
Nau roto he ripe ki ai kia pongpong.
Koe.
Koe tāma kia ni ufo maraku mai tāmai. Koe walu whanima ko tāmai pasi ki awea.
Ia.
Ai pai osi pe whapoki mai kia.
Malo.
Maloa kia.
Ia. Koe ai koe hange koe ki motolo koe ak whe mao. Ke mō ngawe ake ngai whainga maari koe ni. Mō whetu taki anga tona peko telefonina o tuka te ata. Ke mō ngawe aki. Koe ngai whainga maari e Lelei eni. Pea ka paure koe ke sa I ai. O ku ke lava peo te whoki peko o toke tā. O ke sa I ki alu ki ai. Ka osi lewa he ahua tolu o mahina ko tope. Ahua tolu koe no February. Koe osi aho enroll. Ke kamatai I maasi koe ni o e tauni. O mahina katu. Koe ia koe ngahi tokoni pēni ke tukat ke vai ko tau kainga. Ko te mao whaka ngai whamatala pa me King County. O ku ke tatau pe ai tuunga koe ia o Omicron. Pe au ke whai pe ai whale I me King County Public Health. Koe kole mai hou e ki mo tau kainga tonga. Mō ngawe aki ai hohu malu I. O te tau toi whaka uhi ngai he kulahi ai ngahi mea. Tēne malu I koe pia malu I mō family kai uma ai tako tope. Aia koe tauhi pe ai ngahi tūtu ni koe ia o mai he pure a ngake tau mui mui kia. Keep yourself distance, wear your mask all the time and try to take your vaccine first, second and booster dose. Ko mau tole na mau ngawe ake vaccine, mau ki ongo I mo I Lelei pe. Ko ia se asi?
Koe ia.
Iyo. La whamalo atu I he Polokalama I ahoni, whamalo atu ene ki mau ensine ai ahoni, ki a sela tu pofus pala te urilo, malo au pito mo mea mai tō tako tope, o whange mo mao ha e whiawhi Lelei, malo o pito tau kau whataha e whiawhi koe ni. Pea te tau toi Polokalama pe whoki I he mō ni te ko ia o I wiki kahau, te tau gloss ai ki tonga, pea mo e ngahi o ngongo whamui mui koe mi tonga, pa pe he whoki ki he tau konsela tonga. Malo apito mo mea mai, ka mo mea.